Charles, as we'll be proceeding with this quick conversation related to first year monologue on the topic that we have already shooted up in the flyers. That's the innovations in beer in the light of ongoing accelerated trends. In the next 10 minutes, we'll be passing on the mic to you, so you can give us your experiences, your insights about it, and pass that information to our audience on this day. And just to give you a brief idea for this event, so I would like to create awareness of what are the new innovations and what are the new type of technologies coming up into this industry. The people are very fond of this particular knowing more about what's the background in this industry. They are enjoying the beers, but they are not much aware about the technical as well as the scientific angles associated with it. We'll be very happy to listen from you, and after that we'll have a 15 minutes of fireside chat session so that our audience could also hear about some of the more detailed in depth about this industry. And when thereafter we'll have a quick round of question and answers from the audience, so that the audience themselves could get engaged into this conversation and ask the question directly from such an experienced and expert with us. Over to you, Charles, and we again welcome you to be our speaker on this event.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. So when I went through the theme of your webinar, I felt like, wow, it's about trends, innovation, challenge, novel ingredients, sustainability. I feel like that's a full week webinar we're gonna have here, because that's a very, 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 very broad topic. But of course, today is International Beer Day, so the focus is probably more specific on the beer as a category. And yeah, the trends. You can look at trends in many ways, right? You can look at trends at the very macro level. You can look at trends at behavioral level, consumer behavior level. You can look at trends from product perspective or flavors perspective, or maybe at lower level to category level. It's sometimes actually pretty difficult. I've been working with trends and on innovation program for many years, and it's sometimes very difficult to see from the trend. Okay, which are the one we want to follow? Because it's easy to map hundreds of trends. Now in particular, and I'll select a few of them to talk about today. Of course, the situation we've been through over the last 18 months has been an accelerator of a lot of things. It has changed a lot of behavior, but in some way it has mostly accentuated trends we've seen before. I've heard many times kind of we had 10 years into one as kind of an accelerator. And in reality, that's what we see, and one of the most significant trends is probably around health and wellness, what you could call the better for you, the betterness kind of space, and everybody call it differently, but it all comes down to people have gone through a situation where they have recalibrated a little bit on themselves and on their family, on their friends, people distant, but they were trying to keep them close. And they expect better, the idea of better has many legs. They expect better things for their own health, things made with better ingredients, something healthier to consume. They expect something that is also better for the world. They see all this problem of sustainability worldwide, and they want to buy something that's better for the world. They also want something that is better for the community. Is it produced locally? Is it something that is giving back to the community? Who's taking advantage of it? They want something that is better that represent their self, their ideal. So when they make a picture with a product, they Instagram themselves with a picture. They want the product to represent values that they adhere with. So they want also better values from the brand. So this idea of better has a lot of different legs, right?
Mhm.
Um, so if you think about beer as a category in the mix here, I think we start from in the world of alcoholic beverage, right?
Mhm.
Because of course we have non-alcoholic beer, and I'll mention that. But uh, in the world of alcoholic beverage, we start on a good foot fundamentally, because beer is made, it's the oldest alcoholic beverage in the world.
Mhm.
It's like 20,000-year old. It's one of the first things that, people stopped. Actually, if you look at history, people stopped hunting and gathering, stopped being nomad to grow grain, to
Right.
start agriculture. Um, and because they stopped moving to grow grain, you cannot keep moving when you cannot travel. If you make grain, you need to stay where you plant your grain. Because of that, they started to build villages, house and villages and communities, and they started to create the first communities were built around the idea of agriculture, which itself was meant to produce beer. Many years before they made bread, they were making beer. They were brewing beer. Very different beer, that's for sure, but they were brewing beer. And this product that is, started so long ago, started with natural ingredients, what you could find around your home, and it's still the case today. So it's a product that's like, you can make the analogy with cooking. That's why I'm so passionate about beer. I was passionate about cooking, chocolate, cheese, and all the things where you take just a few ingredients and you make the best out of it. You need to transform that in something that people will love, right? So we got few ingredients and all are natural. The few building blocks of beer are barley malt, hops, water, and then we ferment everything with yeast. So you start with a product like, oh, well, these trends and this need for better things, that makes sense for beer. Maybe people don't know, and sometimes, I think maybe something that the beer industry has not done enough historically is to show that, to talk about that. The other industry, if you think wine, in your head, you directly see the vineyard, right? You're in France, you're in Burgundy, and you see that. When you think beer, you're not sure. People don't necessarily think, oh, the hop field, the barley field. So we start with very natural ingredients, a few of them, but we have that latitude to take all the variation of these ingredients. There are like maybe 250 hop varieties you can use. And barley malt, there are many different qualities. Some can be toasted and roasted. Some can be very dark, nearly like coffee beans. So you have a range of flavors and color to play with. What else do you have? The quality of your water and the way you're going to brew all these things, the type of yeast you're going to use. Yeast is not one thing. We're not just trying to make alcohol from sugar with the yeast. The yeast is producing so many flavors and aromas that are making every beer different. So you got thousands of yeast which are different. So now if you take all this variation together, not just the variation of ingredients and yeast, but the way you're going to process all these things, the temperature you're going to use, etc. The sky is the limit in terms of the type of beer you can do before even you start to add other ingredients.
Mhm.
Um, and you can then make a very sweet beer, a very dry beer, probably more rich beer, but also low calories beer, depending on how you're going to brew. You can make more alcohol or less alcohol, depending on the yeast you choose and the grain you choose and all these things. So we can naturally, by the brewing technology and brewing microbiology, by this process, we can naturally serve different purpose. And again, the better for you if people want something that is lighter, that is less calories, that is made with natural ingredient. Oh, I want things that are local. Well, beer is mostly local. Beer is very
Right.
affordable. That's the drink of the people. So that's really
Yes.
something affordable. And if you start to make your beer everything from one country and ship to the world, where is your margin? So you need to mostly produce locally, and that's what beer is doing. Not just us,
Mhm.
the beer industry is mostly a local
Mhm.
product. Even if it's a big brewery, it's local, but it's local people, as far as possible, your local ingredients. So we have many ways, I think, that are really exciting when we see these trends that the beer industry can play with. Uh, of course, the other categories have seen things that, well, one particular, the seltzer category has seen a massive acceleration. It's mostly US, coming to UK, Canada, but the seltzer has become so big in US. If you think about it, it's not just cool and fancy and Instagrammable. It's also a very simple product. It has a bit of alcohol, not too strong. It has low calories, usually no to low sugar, and an interesting flavor because people also
Mm-hmm.
want, it's another trend, there's health and
Mm-hmm.
wellness, but also people want something that is exciting. They don't have lots of time for cool experience, so they want something that is going to be like memorable. It's going to look cool. It's going to make the experience special. It has a robust, interesting, cool flavor, something maybe new. So seltzer has been winning and, in many ways, lots of market share and convincing people. That doesn't mean you need to do a beer that looks like a seltzer. Well, you can just do a seltzer. And that's what lots of brewers are doing because brewers have the capability to produce seltzer. We got fermenters, we can use grains, we can use fruits and juice also in our capabilities. So this health and wellness is definitely has seen a huge accelerator, to just name that mega trend. Um, and I think I'm excited, and that's because it's World Beer Day. I'm also super excited to share that. It's why I'm so passionate. This category can really offer super broadly all of that spectrum, from the very indulgent type of beer to the very um, the more the healthier side, local, low carb, but still exciting flavor profile.
Wonderful.
Well,
Yeah,
that's just something
definitely.
really great to understand, and most importantly, how efficiently you have linked the complete batter to health and the beer. The way you have interconnected all the three points have been really marvelous, and we totally agree that beer being a locally driven, it also gives an opportunity to a particular geography to make a benchmark with respect to their own novel formulations, maybe under a specific brand or so, but yeah, it helps them to be on the mind of the people for a lot of consideration. Like people say, oh, you go there, you visit that country, have that beer. So that's the very first thing that the people always relish to, and
It
that
is
has
of
been,
course. Of course, there is a bit of distribution, and
yeah,
we have global brands, and there are some global brand, and
yeah,
you'll find these big brands all around the world. Some
yeah,
are produced still locally. We some big brands are brewed in many
mhm,
countries because of that. Because it's better to produce
yeah,
locally. It's fresher.
yes,
And it's made with the local people. It's more engaging. But in the vast majority, the brands are local brands, right? So, and I'm not just talking small breweries, but also the bigger one.
yes,
Yeah, certainly, that's very important perspective. So, it's true that in the breweries, there are almost the local brands that are being actually taken as a first preference by the people or the beer lovers. And but as like the company as yours, which is working all over the world, there are good brands which are produced globally, internationally. They are such a specific taste with it associated, and it's being cherished by people all over the world. Uh, you know, so we'll also talk about in more detail about the inputs that you have given. So first of all, my question from you, Charles, would be like, what is the how do you feel being a brew master? Like I have seen on your page that you are an advanced Saisonnier. So there's a whole concepts of Saisonniers who are actually eligible for it, who are actually have been certified for it. So, can we say that are you amongst those lucky guys who say that they love doing their work because that's the passion that they're following? So, what are you feeling about being a brew master and so many of years of experience that you have been into this particular passion?
Well, yeah, actually, that's now about 20 years. I'm working in the world of beer, and I initially I studied the brewing and technology, brewing and malting science and technology,
Oh,
because that's the more hardcore part of it. The whole scientific side, technologic side, you need equipment, you need to master your process, you need to understand. There's a lot of natural biochemistry going on. These are living. The oils from the hops, the yeast is a living thing. So you need to understand all the biology and biochemistry of yeast. You need to understand the biochemistry of how the grain will germinate and become malt, etc. So it's very hardcore scientific. A lot of biochemistry. I don't want to scare anyone. It's not thanks. It's not something artificial or something like manipulation, whatever. It's really about that's the living thing. So it's a living process. Brewing, fermentation are living things,
Yeah.
and you need to learn all the things the hard way. So that's how I started as a brewmaster. So very
Okay.
technical. It's about excellence. It's about quality. It's about perfecting your processes, optimizing your resource, and managing, of course, a lot of people working with you. So there's
Great.
the production, the quality, and the human side, the people side. But over the years, I progressed my career toward innovation, and I spent many years, 4 or 5 years in Europe, working on European scope kind of product innovation, and then 6, 7 years on the global scale, global product innovation. And I think that when you enter that space, you suddenly much closer to marketing and consumer needs. So you open the door to kind of a different spectrum of work for a brewmaster. You're not just the technical guy who passionate for sure, but technical, or will master the process. You also need to understand much more the consumer and help your marketing partners translate all of this into an opportunity, and then figuring out how we make that happen in a brewery. So I had a lot of interest for that. I worked on many brands. I developed many products for Lef, for Hoegaarden, and different brands around the world. Uh, and as you get closer to consumer, you realize, that passion for beer is beyond the passion for the science of beer. It becomes also the passion for the glassware, the service, the experience of consumers, the beer style, and how people experience beer in the market. And all these bees become more the sommelier kind of side of beer. We call it the beer sommelier or the cicerone or
Hmm.
the beer, like a barista for coffee. You call it the
Hmm.
beerista in the world of beer. That's the more everything that is probably a bit less technical about brewing and technical technology and scientific. It's more the emotional side of it, and how you can talk differently about your product and bring it to consumer as a true new experience or compelling experience. And the Cicerone was it's probably the most famous program to you know uh, just like the wine sommelier program. It's kind of this most elaborated program that allows you to study and pass different level of certification. But yeah, over the years I became a hybrid of being the scientific expert and the kind of beerista, if you want, or beer sommelier, and I use that now as a combined set of skills or interest also to in my role of passion for beer.
Yeah.
That is kind of a fancy title, heading passion for beer. What is that? Well, that's what I said. It's really combining the two, making the bridge between the awesomeness of what we do in our operation from the scientific and passionate, excellent quality side of all the brewers, and all the piece that is connected to consumer and experience and innovation, and how to bring this all together. So
Great.
that's definitely a big part of my role.
Yeah, that's definitely amazing and exciting. It's also you are just following a beer as an art as well as a beer as a science. So we can definitely understand how deep knowledge is the background of it. And being said that, we'd also like to understand. What amongst the various beer styles is a favorite of yours? So we have also understood from your information that there have been different raw materials with which we can make the beer. So what amongst those beer styles is your favorite, let's say from the scientific perspective?
Oh, that's always a difficult question. I wish I would just have one beer I love above all, but most of the beer I love more than other one, be it a brand or be it a style, is very often for me a connection with an experience that remind me of something that the product would be more meaningful, would have something that talks to me.
Mhm.
And for me, that's what I call also a better product. The product is not just the product, but is connected for me with something emotional, something that I'm really into. So, um, for instance, I love IPAs and hoppy beers.
Okay.
In general, there are some good, some I prefer, and for sure, not all of them are fantastic necessarily. But I spent a lot of time in the hop fields, in the hop
Okay.
farms of South Africa, from Germany, hop farms in northwest of United States, and with people and realizing, starting from the hops, testing hundreds of varieties of hops, and then understanding the connection with the product you have in the back. So each IPA takes me back in the field to the point.
Okay.
Actually, I'm at home here. I'm working
Uh-huh.
from home. In my backyard, I've got a very small hop field. I
Great.
build I got 10, 15 hills of hops because I just want to see it. It's an emotional connection for me. That's why I love IPAs.
Great.
So
Great.
every beer, I'm often quoted for saying every beer tastes better with a good story. But it needs to be a true story, right? A genuine story, something that talks to people. And there is one
Definitely.
thing maybe I didn't mention earlier, but and it fits I think well with the health and wellness. You see so many products now in the market which are containing adaptogens or nootropics ingredient, mood shifting, mood
Mhm.
lifting, mood
Mhm.
Yeah.
altering
Yeah.
that ingredient. And on one end there is the CBD and the whole things about cannabis category, but I'm mostly thinking all this, the reishi mushroom, the lion's mane mushrooms, the all the herbs and the roots and the plants and the barks, all the things being used for benefits. And a lot of categories have to make it up. They kind of just launch something. There's not necessarily a legacy behind. But beer in its first days, what people were doing with beer until late in the Middle Age, actually they were using a lot of herb spice, flowers, fruits, and everything into beer, not just to make it taste like, oh, it tastes different, tastes better, or not just for the taste, but because that was everyday's beverage, and that was also the way you would cure your headaches and maybe some pains. You would have some cramps or some skin problem. They were using beer as a to make a potion, to add plants and herbs and everything to help preserve the beer, also reduce. It's a product that can be contaminated by a lot of environmental yeast, wild yeast, bacteria, and stuff. So they were also mitigating that with herbs and spice. So I think beer has a huge legacy that we see today happening with lots of teas doing it, and lots of categories are coming with the focus drink and the energized drink, etc. Beer has done it for thousands of years. So I feel like, hey, that's something we could really do. So I love, actually, nowadays you find just a few, and they are not doing this kind of claim in any form of way, but the spruce beer uh, are actually very ancient, and the spruce beer are brewed usually without hop, and they have spruce as a way to convey not just the flavor, but in the past it was meant to add ascorbic acid, so vitamin C, in very high dose. So that's the way, 300 years ago, people were getting their intake of vitamin C by doing spruce beer. When the
Yeah.
British arrived in US, for instance, they were doing spruce beer. So there are a few beers from the past still surviving and using herbs, and they're always very interesting and true legacies. So talking health and wellness, I'm looking forward to more of that in the beer category.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Even
I
a
was just
lot of
going to mention.
Yeah.
Yes, Ravish. So yeah, you can continue because one of the parts that Ravish would like to add was also related to some of the ingredients infused in the beer drink. So yeah, Ravish, please continue.
So, just continuing to your point, Charles, like there have been a lot of innovations when it comes to the fruit infused beer that the people now coming across to be on more healthy note and even to break the age barriers that can be used across the different age groups also, and at the same time looking into the perspective of adding the electrolytes or antioxidant drinks, so making the more combinations forms to be in a more perspective and a healthy way. So that has been a lot of innovations, and I will be discussing a few slides at the end of the session, mostly on the alcoholic beverages and in the beers too on the same.
Yeah, so well, fruit beers, and they were present for they were in the market for long, right? What probably is now shifting a little bit is, again, if you have fruit beer or want to innovate on fruit beer, probably people are looking for something more genuine.
Yeah.
If you use flavors to do it,
No, no.
maybe they want
It's,
at least natural flavors, and maybe they don't want even natural flavors. They want infusion. And if you use
yes.
juice, they want
Exactly.
real juice. And even if they don't necessarily understand, natural flavors are, you know,
Hmm.
they're good. But maybe people think, oh, even flavor, I don't like the name. Maybe we need to be honest about what we do, and maybe talk differently when in the case someone, and it's true across categories. I mean, this need to move
Hmm.
from, the way it's done is totally honest and genuine. So are there more fruit beers than before? I'm not sure it's necessarily you know there are necessarily more innovation around fruit beers these days. There has always been a lot of beer with lemon and lime because beer is a lot about refreshment. So lemon,
Hmm.
lime will always play an important part. Even if you combine your lemon with dragon fruit, or something a little bit more exotic with something familiar, which is a classic way to put things. Um, but yeah, red fruits and yeah, fruit beers are definitely in every brewer's portfolio, because again, there is a legacy in the past using fruits in beer.
Hmm.
Some of the oldies are the Creek in Belgium. There is a style we call Creek Lambic, which are sour beer aged with cherries, and it's something that they've been doing for thousands of years.
Yeah.
So fruit in
Nice.
beers totally makes sense, and
Uh,
could be brought as a very genuine and story to consumer.
and even the scent stands
Definitely.
go for the like the how the cannabinoids are also been certainly a few organizations are being considering, but yeah, that comes under the certain regulatory norms of the jurisdictions as per the geographies and the age group. So but yeah, people are equally exploring these perspective too. And as you have very rightly related the complete Belgium part over here, and as I stated, me and Lalit have Germany and Belgium, whenever we are there, we always love to have our favorite beers over here.
Yeah, the
So
cannabis is it's still definitely way too early, and I know most players would at least not ignore it, and keep looking, and trying to understand. But yeah, there is lots of element of regulation, and things are evolving fast. So it's really something to keep an eye on, certainly, in the same vein of the nootropic and the adaptogens. Now, I've tried a couple of these beer in the market, which are actually, and it's interesting. It's not a beer made with cannabis or hemp because of
Hmm.
the regulatory
Yeah, yes.
environment, and everything associated to it. But it's possible to recreate. You could extract an aroma. You can always recreate it by finding similar oils from different plants. So these aromas, cannabis is the same family as hop.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
if you go to some upper level on the architecture of botanic, right? They are part of the cannabinaceae. So hop is
Hmm.
part of it, cannabis part of it. And bottom line, there are oils which are very aromatic, just
Hmm.
like in rosemary and all,
Right.
thyme, and in these oils you got terpenes. These are some of these aromatic and fragrance molecules. But you can find them in different herbs and plants. You can rebuild this aroma coming from plants everybody knows. if you want to make a beer, flavor a beer, you could flavor it with natural flavor extracted from different plants,
Mhm.
and you would recreate that aroma of maybe
Mhm.
cannabis that people may like, but don't want to have it coming from cannabis or even hemp.
No, no.
They want it come, or maybe just the aroma, and the aroma
Right.
could come sourced from different plants. So that's something I've tried a couple
Mhm.
times over the last year. There are a few of these beer in the market. It's interesting. It's
Yeah.
an aroma like that, of course, emotionally remind people of many things. So
Yeah.
I think
Well,
it's very
eh,
Yeah.
small. It's very small at this stage. It's more of a just the aroma. So it's really
right, right.
small
Well,
opportunity there.
well, it's a great
Yeah.
to learn on the subject matter, and it's really, really insightful. Yeah. Over to you, Lalit.
Yes. So, Charles, I understand. It also told about, your favorite, kind of broaderly favorite beer styles, and I was actually going through your link, the Instagram profile, and I found that you have been doing lots of experiments and, sharing mesmerizing recipes on your, page, and I also found you're doing lots of usage of IPA with fruits like lemon and sliced lime, and also, I'll also ask the audience. I'll put your Instagram, page link there in the chat so that people could follow what a new kind of, experiments or innovations or new mesmerizing recipes that you are providing. So, people would love to learn that. And, before coming to my last question and answers, I'll also ask the audience so that they can put their questions or any kind of queries that they would like to ask from Charles. So they can put that in the chat, and I'll be reviewing that and maybe share that in the last 5 minutes of our Q&A round. And the last question from my side, Charles, would be like, we have seen that the beer sales have dropped here in New Zealand and Europe during this COVID pandemic times. So, what according to you could be the reasons behind it? So, is it more related to the health perspective or something else that is actually at the global level?
Look, I don't have numbers here and to discuss, sales uplift and drop in depending on market. But for sure, every market, was definitely impacted by the lockdown. Some market it was
Yeah.
strict lockdown, some had multiple lockdown, and so every situation was different. The government reacted differently, closing business or not, restaurant, retail. And then if you close all the bars and if people are at home, you directly have a big impact on volumes. And if your market can turn this around and maybe move from draft to small packs, cans, bottles, and ensure a distribution, maybe you can still maintain, your market by offering the opportunity for people to still have beer delivered in their home, sometime by e-commerce. The market that were the most ready with e-commerce have been able to turn this around quite quickly. So it's really a mix of how is your market ready with um, the possibility to shift from on-trade to off-trade, so from draft solution to small pack bottles, cans. How is your market able to distribute in that case? And how is, and part of it is really e-commerce, or how are you ready for people to put an order and be delivered with the product? So in some market, there was a general, it's been affecting all markets. I don't know if any market went up with beer. We're probably not the industry that would be the most affected by COVID, but we are not built like, we are not the Amazon of this world, where it feels like these companies are nearly built for a situation like we had. They were very successful because that's what they do. They ship for people at home very fast. Probably the beer industry, like the drink industry overall, was not the most impacted. People still want to have a beer, just like they still want to have food. But whole markets had to adapt differently, so it had an effect everywhere for sure.
Yes, in fact, I would like also to quote that in India during this COVID times when the government opened the liquor shops, the beer shops, so the media was specifically covering this footages. The people were not, they are not mostly disciplined because of the large population in India when it comes to being in the queues or the let's say in the restaurants or all, but the media specifically covered the people for the beer shops. They were so disciplined, and they were actually following the rules of making a 6 feet distance, and that's only because of the love that they have for it.
Yeah, good. And in some market, even government introduced a ban on alcohol. So if you have a ban, of course, I know it's been the case. Like in South Africa, there were many ban on alcohol. So of course, that's directly affecting your volume, right? So it's no surprise there were some volume swing, more or less important depending on each market. And
Exactly.
look, just before that question, you mentioned you saw on my Instagram a lot of experiment. Yeah, I'm always experimenting, and I think that's part of the creative process. And sometimes you also look at different categories, how creative they are, and you try to see how that would express itself in the beer world. And I just got a new tool. I just bought online. It's something that bartender are using to smoke cocktails, right? They put a little bit of dust of wood from bourbon wood into this small device. You flame it, you burn it, you cover it, and you put it on the glass, and then the foam goes in the glass. So again, that's this kind of things I like doing at home or during weekend. And if it works well, I'll certainly share it on social
Great.
media. But it's really about experimenting with these things, which are really opportunities to live an experience for consumers. So
Oh, that's
Sure.
something
that's
really
that's the
great
next one.
technique. That's something really great to have the aroma to diffuse. That's a really innovative thing indeed, Charles.
Yeah. And Charles, I got one of the questions from one of the audience that we have said. So they were actually listening to the concepts that you shared about the zero or the reduced sugars in beer. So one of the query has been asked that will it actually impact the natural taste of beer, or the companies they are actually keeping in this in mind that they would actually make the such kind of product which will not impact the natural taste, but they will still be with reduced or zero sugars.
No, actually, that's the whole science of brewing. In short, really, the grain. It's not like when you. If I make the analogy with wine or with cider, you got a fruit, and the fruit contains the sugar, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you press the juice, you press the fruit, you got a sweet sugar, and these are the sugars you have. And then you can ferment, and depending if you got more sugar, you're probably going to make more alcohol if you have the right yeast. In the case of brewing, you don't have a fruit, you got a grain. So you don't have the sugar, you got starch. Right? That's everybody knows grain, even if it's rice grain or barley grain or
Mm-hmm.
all of that is starch. So the act of brewing, what we do first is really by mixing with, of course, we mill the grain, we blend it with water, but we play with rest at different temperature to digest this starch
Mm-hmm.
into sugar. And the digestion are enzymatic. I know we got scientifics in the room. So this is an enzymatic digestion enzyme that are coming with the grain. The malted barley, has a lot of enzymes in itself. It's not a living thing anymore, but as it was germinating
Mm-hmm.
and malting, it developed all these enzymes, and they are still present in the grain. So the way we're gonna malt to create more or less enzymes, right, in the grain, the way we're gonna cook it, or at different temperature for different period of time, 20 minutes, half an hour, 55 minutes, at 60 degree, at 72, and all of this will help us customize the quantity of sugar we want to create and
Mm-hmm.
what type of sugar. Not like fruit where you mostly have fructose or glucose. We can customized to have more or less. We also got a bit of glucose, but we have mostly maltose, but also maltotriose and then dextrins, small dextrin, big dextrins. And because we can customize that and then select the yeast that we want, we will be able to have more or less alcohol at the end and more or less sugar at the end, more or less carbs at the end. So it's still a very natural process. And because we can brew, we don't start with the fruit, we can brew and customize that. Takes a lot of science and optimization. But you can customize what you get, and then you can make a low carbs beer, very dry or not, and that's something that you can naturally produce.
Charles, just a question
Sure.
over here. Like right from the brewing process to delivering to the at the customer and or the consumer end, what is the most challenging part when it comes to going for a sustainable or a more eco-friendly approach, as per you? Currently, what is the biggest challenge that you foresee?
Look, that's a permanent effort, to be the most sustainable on your on your process. Making extracting the most from your raw material, producing less waste,
Mm-hmm.
but also reducing water consumption, CO2 production, reusing your CO2. So I think everybody is moving faster, not just, okay, we do it every day a little bit. We got always bigger and bigger, more and more challenging objectives because there is no time to waste. I think the most important step, and probably sometimes the most difficult to control, but I mean, in our company, we got lots of verticalized operation and integrated supply chain, is to not just look at what you do in the brewery. It's about how you're going to distribute the product to the market, because that
Right.
also use a lot of energy. How is your hop produced? What are
Mm-hmm.
the practice from the farming technique from the hops and the barley? Because they're also part of what you need to brew beer, and you want them to be the most sustainable hop crops, the most sustainable barley crop.
Mm-hmm.
We develop new varieties constantly, not just
Mm-hmm.
in as an industry.
Mm-hmm.
We keep developing new hop varieties, new barley varieties. Why? Not just because they could be more aromatic and it would be cool for the new IPA. It's not the only reason. Of course, we want new things, new flavors, but also to have varieties, and it's the first objective always, the first criteria. Varieties that will be more sustainable, varieties that can survive with less water, they can
Mm-hmm.
survive, they can defend themselves against uh, pest and different disease you can have in the field. So you don't need to use any
Mm-hmm.
treatment. So we keep
Mm-hmm.
every year new varieties hit the market,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the objective. More sustainable varieties. Same for
Right.
barley. So you can grow barley in place of the world where it was not possible before. So instead of
Mm-hmm.
importing your grain, you develop a local supply chain. All of
Right.
that really contribute. So that's I think the most important, and it's a challenge. You can't just look into your own the
Mm-hmm.
things you have in control in your brewery, is to integrate the whole supply chain until it's from seed from the field to sip to the
Mm-hmm.
consumer, and make sure your distribution, your fleet, everything
Mm-hmm.
all the way through is the most sustainable.
Well, even when you are saying the development of the new varieties, a few other customers are also particular whether it's the sources have been the genetically modified or it is still more natural driven. So, what's your thought over the same?
Now, so we don't use any genetically modified hops, barley. They're all natural breeding. When I say we develop new varieties, these are
Yeah.
natural breeding, right? We put male and females
Yeah.
together
Uh,
and we cross pollinate, and
yeah.
that's how we do. Uh, the yeast we use in as a beer industry, I will talk for us, but I'm sure it's true
Yeah.
for the whole beer industry also. Um, is totally natural yeast. We don't use
Yeah. Yeah.
genetically modified yeast. We don't need that. We don't need that. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's really something that is not even considered, I think, because we got so many yeast available, and they're
Yeah.
part of the terroir, and they add their own fingerprint to the product. So no, we don't. In some market, you would have some culture that would be difficult to find, which would be non-GMO, for instance. Like if you think about the U.S. market, the corn in U.S.
Mm-hmm.
has been GMO for long, and there's kind of contamination across culture, which is an ongoing debate. So corn in US would be difficult to find without GMO. So we use mostly rice in US, by the way.
That's really great to know, because even most of the people as a beer lover, even we would love to have something which is 100% natural and have some real natural taste indeed.
Yeah, well, I mentioned at the beginning we got
Yeah.
four natural
Yes.
ingredients. And in many markets, we start to really advertise that because it's not enough to brew in a genuine way and with natural ingredient, natural process. If you don't, you need to tell it. You need to tell your stories. You need to open your
Hmm.
breweries and for people to come and see. It's the role of visitor centers. It's to let people see by themselves. People don't want to be
Right.
told; they want to see themselves. Okay, come on and
Right.
see our place. You'll see yourself how we
Right.
do it, how we brew,
Absolutely.
and, uh, and that's the reason why everybody can brewing. I'm also brewing in my backyard.
Yeah.
It's something you can do. It's like being a chef or home cook. Everybody can cook at home. Being a chef, it's a bit of a different expertise, but fundamentally, these are the same kind of operation. We do ingredients, temperature pans, and so yeah.
Well, that's
Sure.
something really, really very insightful to learn, because that have been the way even Signicent as an organization, as a technology research organizations, where we have been, assisting various R&D groups, technology leaders, or the new product development or innovation leaders on the multiple perspective, right from the understanding the sustainable approaches within their formulations and the processing, at the same time also looking into the more natural ingredient basis, and at the same time also looking into the sustainable eco-friendly packaging solutions too. Like a very recent work that we helped was related to the paper board or cardboard based bottles packaging for the beer itself, for the beverages in particular. So yeah, we have been fortunate, and yes, to work and collaborate and help some of the real good teams on a global note, and yeah, would continue to do so in the best of our ability. So it's yeah.
Sure.
Okay,
So,
well,
yes, Charles. So, I'll ask Ravish to share some, insights about, some of the content that you would like to share on the, the drivers for the market. And I think so we are running late, so we'll just,
Okay.
wind up the event in the next 5 minutes.
Okay.
So, please
Well,
proceed, Ravish. Yeah.
thank you, Lalit. Well, I will just take a minute or two because it has been so insightful discussion with Charles, and it
Yeah,
was so
I think so.
learning
We could
for all.
even take it for the next 1 hour, but
Yeah,
Charles has the other commitments for this, very important day in this
yeah.
industry for him. So we cannot, hold Charles for more. So yeah, we'll take the next 5 minutes and wind up the session. Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you, Lalit. Just let me share the screen. I will just take a couple of minutes time to give just a brief overview. So these are just a few slide that we have just uh, presented. Kindly confirm once you are able to view the slides.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, I'm just putting on the power mode slideshow. Just allow me a
Yeah.
minute. Yeah. So, as stated, we have been fortunate to work with some of the novel innovations that are been going on the global note for various R&D innovations teams, new product development teams, to help them understand what are the innovative trends that are there that can ultimately provide some consumer the novel taste to cherish or to work around. So, Signicent has hold a long history in this stream for working across for last 9 years and so. And when we look into any perspective, there are various thorough dimensions that we cover, right from the patents to the scientific literatures to the commercialization perspective, product innovations, commercializations of the startups, universities, research institutions, and also understanding what are the best applications of these identified prototypes. Let's say we have identified certain novel innovations or a novel formulation. So right from understanding the ideation to the complete prototype development to the complete commercialization perspective. So these are just a few, like we have briefly discussed. Like one has been ready to drinks have been there, but how the ready to drinks market has also been entered in the alcoholic beverages. What could be this Nolo beers or the canned wines or cannabinoids infused or the fruit infused beers. So these are a few aspects. So there are a lot of recent innovations that have been going across, like from some of the Korean universities have been using uh, the infused aronia to improve the antioxidant content in the beer. So these are the way, we have just indicated a few of the recent innovative parts, how they are been adding up to a new flavor, a new health perspective over here. And similarly, one of the universities from Romania, they are increasing the biological value of the beer by just adding antioxidant rich eggplant over here. So people are experimenting a lot to have a good sensory characteristics and which are even more stable. Similarly, if you look around with the uses of omic treated fruit purees that are being coming across, or immature beers to fruit or flavoring perspective that are being coming across. So these are just a few noteworthy examples that are been there. Then also we looked into the various perspective of what are the driving forces in terms of low alcohols or low sugar or the flavonoids base, or the what are the smart sustainable intelligent packaging perspective. So like how the cannabinoids can be used in the form of dealcoholized cannabinoid infused beverages. Some of the recent innovations that are there, or hemp plant juice based beverages. So these are the few noteworthy results that we have particularly put across to give the people understanding that what are the futuristic aspects that are being really surged across in a very recent time. Like one of the organizations from Sanitary Holdings, Japan, are been working a lot with a ready to drink alcoholic beverages with thick taste and aroma. So they are specifically looking into isoamyl alcohols or xanthan gums or glucoamine or at least tartaric acids. So with the alcohol content of 8 to 30%. Similarly, other documentations that we have summarized. So these are just a few, important ready-to-drink cocktails innovations that are being going across with the various formulations. And what could be fruit-infused beer, as I stated, there are a lot of innovations that are being going across in the fruit-infused beer processes too, like immature beers to fruit and flavoring perspective. So there are many dimensions that can be looked around in the form of the fruit infused beers too. So these were just a few that I just wanted to highlight, and will won't take much of the time, and hand over to Charles if any questions or any query are there over the same.
Yeah,
Uh,
so Charles, would you like to add something?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I know I spend a lot of time mostly talking about what beer is in itself and the intrinsic of beer, and how just by using that all of that we could already definitely expand the relevance of beer as a uh, following the mega trends we talked about. I'm sure we're gonna see also on the processing side things more
right.
like unfiltered, for instance, the idea of
Mm-hmm.
unfiltered or unpasteurized, or these areas which are more linked to process, but can definitely also resonate with consumer in terms of better, because they associate this unfiltered and pasteurized also with kind of holistic benefits for them. I've seen things about antioxidant. I'm still a believer. Of course, we can add a lot of things to beer.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
could add a lot of different things, and maybe they come with fruits, and then it's still okay. I suppose for consumers. Um, but I like to think we should fish more into the ingredient themselves. Hop has a lot
Right.
to offer still. Hop has a lot of
Right.
antioxidant itself. There is more polyphenol in a hop cone than in a grape fundamentally. So, well, we use less hop cone than grape to make wine, but uh, just to say, like, the concentration of polyphenol in a hop cone is high, and the oils have a lot of different properties beyond the aromatics. So I also like to think the truth can come really from inside, and from using when you have natural resource to better use them. And then the world, we didn't talk grain, but I talk barley. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's the boar's grain, but the world of grain is very broad. And if you
Right.
think beer can expand towards oat and rye and spelt, and the sky is the limit in that respect, right?
Absolutely, and even others, many of the dimensions or where beverage company are been targeting have been the energy drinks along with the electrolytes or antioxidant, because that allow them to have a more age group open, where they can directly sell to the customer. So that we also believe that with energy drinks across different application, like energy drink for a sports person, energy drink for a age group of 50 plus or so, or other student, so it's different as a functionality. Beverages company are innovating a lot with the functional drinks also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah,
thank you
totally.
so much. Over to you,
Okay, well,
Lalit.
thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I wish you all a fantastic international beer day today.
Thank
Well,
you
Maybe
so
maybe
much,
you
Charles. Yeah.
finish the day probably with a beer. That would be, I think, a good choice today. Drink
absolutely.
responsibly, right? It's not it's
Definitely.
International Beer Day, but it's, for me, it's beer day every day because it's part of
Good to know.
my DNA, right? So thanks for the invite.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much, Charles, and we are really delighted to have you. And you have, given us your availability at such a short notice. And our audience also have been, they got some good insights from you to learn about both the scientific as well as the innovative and the art perspective of brewery and hops you have given to us. So we'll be looking forward to making such great sessions again with you in the coming times, and our audience would also be delighted to be in touch with you. Maybe if there are any kind of followings from your Instagram where they are looking for recipes. So I'll again share that with my contacts, and
Sure.
we'll love to talk to you again once again. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
Yeah.
so much, Charles. Once
Thank you.
again, it was a really an honor to have such an insightful discussion and to host you for today. Have a great
Definitely.
your day ahead for you. It's your favorite day, and hope you have a real good time today. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Good
Thank
day
you
all.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Yeah. Thank you so much all for joining as well. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.